Straight all day.
You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then here's what we're going to do. We're going to put all this into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today we are going to talk money increasing principles. We're going to talk some principles for you increasing your money, some things that you can apply no matter what you do, no matter how you make your money, that everybody can use. And if you're not using these, you can implement these, or what's the word I want to use? Not implement is not the word. You can, let's just say, introduce until the word comes back to me. Introduce these into what you're doing now if you are not already doing these. And if you're already doing these, then you probably are already focused on increasing your revenue. And I think a lot of people want to increase their revenue, but they don't know or have not employed any principles that are actually going to help them start doing it. And again, what I'm going to share here today can apply to anyone, no matter what you do for a living. But we'll get to that in a second. First of all, let me tell you, when I have a weekly motivation text message now that I'll be sending out every week, every Monday, to everyone who is in my texting community. If you want to receive this message, it is guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point for the week ahead. All you got to do is text me at my number, which is 305-384-6894. And the other thing that you should do is go to workonyourgame.net if you have not already, and access my free 45-minute training, which is titled How to Increase Your Income from the 6 to 7 figure level without running yourself into the ground in the process of doing it. Even if you feel like you have already maxed out your energy, you feel like you already maxed out everything you could possibly do, and you're like, there's no way I can increase my income because it's going to take more hard work than I'm already giving, and I can't give any more hard work. Well, let me tell you, you can increase your income without having to do a whole bunch more hard work. You just got to get strategic about what you're doing. And at workonyourgame.net, you'll get my training where I explain exactly how that is done. And at the end of that training, I will tell you how you can schedule a call with me so we can talk about how specifically we can do it in and with you in your business. Again, that's at workonyourgame.net. That link is down below in the description. Now let's get into today's topic, which is money increasing principles. Like, anyone who wants to increase the money you're bringing in, I don't care what you do, who you are, where you're from, how much you're making. You can be making 20 grand a year, you can be making 200 grand a year, you can be making 10 million a year. This is for you. If you're making 10 million, you're probably already following these things. But anyway, just listen to make sure. Point number one, the topic again is money increasing principles. Number one, watch the money. This is the number one thing you can do. Okay, I told you these are principles, folks. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. If you want to make more money, no matter how you're making money right now, even if you're not making any money right now, if you want to make more money than what you're making now, the number one thing you can do and number one thing you must do is you must start watching the damn money. Let me tell you how this principle, the framework of this principle applies across the board in all areas of life. If you want to get better at your fitness, what's the number one thing you should be doing? Now, some of you are thinking of the wrong answer right now. Some of you are thinking like, well, Dre, you should go to the gym, or you should watch what you eat, or you should get more sleep, or you should hire a trainer, or you should get some workout gear. All of those are things that you could do, but none of those is the number one thing you should do. The number one thing you should do if you want to get in better physical shape is you need to start paying attention to your physical shape. Because when you pay attention to something, you will start doing the things like hiring a trainer, watching what you eat, getting more sleep, drinking more water, going to the gym, all those little sub things that come with it. The number one thing, the overarching principle that's going to move you to take all of those little actions, the tactics, is the principle of we need to be paying attention to the thing. Everybody who's listening to me right now, if you want to increase the money that you're making, you need to start paying more attention to the money that you got right now and how you're making it. You need to start watching the money. Okay, this is number one thing. Watch the money. Everybody heard that saying? There's the old cliche that says don't put all your eggs in one basket, and then there's the counter cliche that says put all your eggs in one basket, then just watch that basket and make sure nobody messes with it. And this is this is the second one. This is the latter, the one I'm telling you right here. All right, you want to increase your revenue, pay more attention to the revenue. You want to get better at if you want to get in better physical shape, pay attention to your physical shape. You want to have a better relationship, pay more attention to your relationship. You want to get better at X, pay more attention to X. What we pay attention to, we focus on, what we focus on usually increases in scope in our minds. And when we put our minds to anything, we get a whole lot better at it. All right, everybody's heard that, some form of that saying before, right? All right, two words that I use a lot here on this show are conscious and intentional. This is what this first point is about. When you get conscious and intentional about what's going on with your finances, you will probably get better at it. Why? Because the human brain is the most powerful tool known to man, and when you put your mind to something, usually you can get better at that thing. Even if you're not good yourself, because you're putting your mind to it, you might realize that you're not good at it. Because see, if you're only giving a 50% intention to your money right now, you might not even realize how bad you are at it, and then you won't realize that you need to get some help. But if you put 100% of your intention on it, 100% of your consciousness on it, you may quickly realize how bad you are at it and say, damn, you know what, I'm not good at this, let me go get some help. And you'll go get some help now instead of getting some help 5 years from now, and then you can start getting your stuff together earlier than you would had you not been paying attention to it the way you are now. You see what I'm saying? So just because you put your mind to something does not necessarily mean you are going to become amazing at it. What it means is you can become aware of your lack of amazingness, so to speak, and then go get some help. But if you are not even aware of your lack of amazingness, guess what happens? You'll keep sleepwalking through life, like we talked about in yesterday's episode. So you see how all this stuff connects? Every principle that I talk about here on this show connects to another principle. Everything is interconnected when you understand it. So if you want to get better at anything in life, just get conscious and intentional about it. Keep those two words in mind, burn them onto your brain. Do not be passive, and do not hope that something just happens in your life. Sometimes things do just happen, but usually not when or how you want them to. Doesn't mean you can't get lucky, but understand luck runs both ways, folks, good and bad. So you need to be actively involved in making happen what you want to happen in your life. Whatever you pay attention to grows. If you want to make more money, watch the money. Be conscious about the money, pay attention to the money. Put all of your eggs in that basket, watch the basket. Like I told you, I check personally. And I do a lot of online selling. Most of the selling that I do is in some form happening online, where people can pay on the internet, even if what they get is not necessarily online or not necessarily something that they download or anything like that. Most of the sales I do online. And you know what I do? I'm looking at the sales numbers 10 times a day. At least 10 times a day, I'm looking and seeing what is going on. Why am I doing this? Because I'm in the sales business. And I care a lot about the sales. So I'm conscious and intentional about what's going on with sales. And when the sales ain't looking right, I'm doing something about it. I'm not just looking at it once every 10 days and saying, damn, that was a rough 10 days. I wonder what happened over that 10 days. No, I'm looking at it 10 times in one day. And if something's not going right that one day, I'm trying to figure out what the issue is, and we're going to fix it now, not later. I can make changes immediately. And because I'm paying attention to it, I can make changes when I see it, not tomorrow, not next week. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is we're talking money increasing principles. Number 2, look for and associate with people who have more money or have more of an understanding of how you can increase your money in whatever way. Maybe they just know a way you can sell things better. Maybe they know a way you can strategize and organize what you're doing better. Maybe they simply have more of it than you. Maybe they have more experience than you. Maybe they made a lot, lost it, and made it back. Whatever. People who have other ways of seeing or better ways of seeing and dealing with money than you should associate with these people and get around them whatever way you need to. Whether you're watching them on YouTube, you listen to their podcast, you're in their program, you become their friend, whatever it is. This is the value of association, folks. I talked about this in episode 1880, the law of association. This is association put into effect. Anything you want to get better at in life, first of all, get conscious and intentional about it, like we just told you in point number 1. Second of all, go find people who are already doing that thing and or doing it better than you, and get into their circles or get them into your circle. Their energies, ideas, habits, and actions will rub off on you either through the process of osmosis, if they're just your friend hanging with you, or they can actually help you do it directly if it's something like you're reading their book, or you're in their course, or they're coaching you, or you're listening to them talk on a consistent basis. So you can learn how other people are doing things if they're doing it in a way that you want to learn from them by associating yourself with them in some way, shape, or form, however they make themselves available and however you would like to engage. This principle applies to anything that you want to get better at. So get around people who are already playing at a higher level than you, and this is your shortcut to taking yourself to their level. We'll go back to the fitness example. You want to get in better physical shape, hang out with people who are already in better shape than you, and what you're going to immediately notice is they have some habits, some disciplines, some ideas, and some ways of being around fitness that you either knew about but were not applying, knew about but thought you couldn't, didn't know about, and now you understand. And you're gonna have a choice. You're either gonna have to catch up, or you're gonna get left behind, because they're not gonna lower their level to match you. You gotta raise your level to match them, or they're gonna kick you out of the circle because you're bringing their average down, right? Because the law of association says you become the average of the people you hang with, right? So when you get around people who are playing the game differently than you, you gotta catch up. So the quickest way for you to take your game to the next level is get around people who are playing at a different level from you. They say this in the sports world all the time. If you ask any professional trainer in the sports world, especially in team sports, individual sports as well, actually, this would apply to. What's the quickest way to get someone who's coming from the amateur ranks to get up to speed with the professional level players is have the amateur player start training and playing with and against the pro level players on a day-to-day basis. Nothing will force you to figure things out faster than getting your ass kicked by people who are playing the game at a higher level than you every single day. Because one of two things are going to happen. Either you're going to sink, which means you're going to decide that you can't keep up and quit, or you're going to swim. You're going to catch up to their speed and start playing the game at the level that they're playing at, and you're going to realize that you had abilities that you had never tapped into simply because you were not in an environment that was forcing you to tap into them. This is what happens. It's the same way if you wanted to learn a new language. Reading a book about the language is a good idea, but if you go somewhere where you have no choice but to speak the language, and you're dealing with people who are only speaking that language, and they're not speaking the only language that you knew before you got there, you're going to pick it up pretty quick because you ain't got no choice. Otherwise, you can't get around. You can't even go to the bathroom. You have no choice but to get immersed in the same thing that they are already immersed in. Again, this applies in sports, it applies in languages, it applies in business, it applies in just thinking, period. Anybody who has a skill or trait that you want to develop, hang around that person and more people who are like them, and you're going to start to develop those skills and traits. There's no other way, there's no way around this. And that's why the law of association is called the law of association. It's not the theory of association, it's the law of association, because it applies every single time. All right. Getting around people who are playing at a higher level is the fastest way to raise yours. The biggest thing you get from the law of association is picking up on from associating with people, period, not the law, but just from associations, period, is you get to pick up on the being, the energy, the ethos and the spirit of people who are, however they're doing things. All right, when you change your being, you change the vibration of the energy that you are walking around with. This is a literal thing, and this makes it infinitely easier to do the things that are necessary to achieve the outcomes that you want. The first step to achieving your outcomes is changing your vibration and changing your energy. Every human being is literally vibrating all the time. We're vibrating even when we're sleeping. When you change your vibration, your actions can change, and the way that you do your actions change, and that will change your results. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, we are talking money increasing principles. Number 3, get your mind right around the amount of money you want and your qualifications for having it. I talked about this in the episode on people's poor money mindset. So let me tell you what episode that was. That was episode number 2214, how your poor money mindset may be the very reason that you are keeping yourself broke. You and your mindset are keeping you broke. If you think that it is somehow or in some way unethical or immoral to have, whether you earned it, whether you let's just say to earn or have a certain amount of money, you will never get that money. If you think it's unethical to earn $250,000 a year, you'll never get it. You think it's unethical to earn $5 million a year, you will never have it. You think it's unethical to charge 5 times what you're charging right now for your services, you will never get it. And this point is so important. The reason why I did that whole episode on poor money mindset, episode 2214, because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs on a daily basis. And I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who are, and even if I'm not working with them directly, whether I'm texting with them, emailing with them, DMing these people, a lot of people who are starting out. Let's just say they're starting out and they're under $100,000 a year in terms of their income. And I have told so many entrepreneurs so many times, hey, whatever you're charging right now, you need to be charging more. You're not charging enough. You should be charging more, especially people who are in service-based businesses where there is no, what's the word that I'm looking for here? There's no direct way that somebody can tell you what your thing is worth. It's basically worth whatever you say is worth, as long as you can get someone else to agree to it. Like if you're a personal trainer or you're doing something like professional speaking, your product is worth whatever you say it's worth, as long as you get someone to agree that is worth it and you actually believe it, you can get it. But you wouldn't believe, actually many of you would believe, so let me not say that. Some of you wouldn't believe, but many of you would believe how many times entrepreneurs will push back on me and say, well, I don't want to charge that much, because they have some thought that it's unfair or it's too much or it's not, that fair word comes up a lot, and too much comes up a lot. Just the fear that I can see in people's eyes and hear it in their voices and see it in their words when I suggest to them that what you're charging is like 25% of what you should be charging. We need to 4x your price. I hear this so many times from people, and this is not because their stuff is not actually worth it, because I'm telling them that it is that they have a poor money mindset. They have a mindset around being poor, right, or broke. And this is the reason why they stay poor and broke, because they don't want the money. So this is my third point here today. You got to get your mind right around the amount of money you want and your qualifications for having it, because here's the interesting thing that happens. I'll talk to an entrepreneur, let's say they're making $50,000 a year. And I'll say, how much do you want to be making? And they'll say something like $250,000 a year. I say, okay, fine. Let's start by raising the price of your main thing so that you won't need to sell 3,000 of them. Maybe you only need to sell 300 of them. All right, how about that? And they'll push back that they don't want to raise their price. And I'm like, okay, well, look, if we do the math on keeping your price where it's at, well, you see where it has gotten you to this point, right? So we need to get you 5 times where you are. Can you work 5 times harder? Can you put in 5 times more hours? Are you going to get 5 times better? No, no, and no. Now, I can help you get better. I can help you do more of what you're already doing, but is it going to take you from where you are to where you want to get to without you following everything I'm telling you to do? No. And as a matter of fact, I wouldn't even accept it. If you're going to work with me, then I'm going to tell you to do certain things, and you're going to do them. Especially if it's something that's actually going to help you and take your game to another level. We need to 5x your price. And then they don't want to do it. And then they're saying, well, I'm like, all right, you're at 50 grand. You want to make 250 grand, but you don't want to raise your prices. Well, how is this supposed to work? You ain't got more hours in a day. You're already working all day to get to where you're at. So what are we supposed to do here? You tell me what we're doing. If you think it is somehow unethical or immoral for you to have, charge, or earn a certain amount of money, put that number, whatever that is, put it above your head and never raise your hand. Keep your hand above your head at that number, because that is your concrete ceiling. You will never get above it. You're going to be there for the rest of your life. You will do things to subconsciously sabotage yourself from reaching it, or consciously sabotage, as in the example that I just gave you. So the question is, what do you want and why are you okay with having it? You should know this. You should have an answer to this question. What do you want and why are you okay with having it? This don't even have to be about money. My book, The Mental Workbook, I talk about this. In The Mirror of Motivation, I talk about this. What do you want in life and why do you believe you are worthy of having it? There's no wrong answer to this, but you need to have an answer to this. This is what some of you, they call your why, right? Your favorite motivational speakers, they're always asking, what's your why? All right, here it is right here. What's your why? Do you have one? Are you associated with people who are already at that level? Their energy will roll off on you. Do you believe you are worthy? Here's a question. Do you believe you're worthy of earning 10 times as much as what you're earning right now? Not do you think it, because everybody thinks it, and anybody will say it, but do you believe it? Those are 2 different things. Thinking and believing are 2 different things. You can think that you can earn more money, but belief is a different level. Belief is you don't have to think about it. See, if you got to think about it, it's not belief. I want that one to sink in. Are you conditioning your mind for the reality that you claim you want? And conditioning your mind for a reality means you need to be telling yourself these things on a consistent basis, even when things are looking the exact opposite of how you want them to look. That's conditioning. It means you're doing it all the time so that your mind is already set for this. That's why we call it mindset. You set your mind a certain way. How do you set your mind a certain way? The same way you raise a child, the same way you train a dog. It means you do things over and over and over and over and over again, even when you don't feel like it, so that the mind gets set a certain way. Then you don't have to think about what you think. Are you doing this on a consistent basis? And if you are not, then I suggest you read my book called The Mental Workbook, which you can get at workonmygame.com/workbook, or just go to mirrorofmotivation.com or thirddaybook.com. Get the 3rd day or the Mirror of Motivation. On the 3rd page in both of those sales funnels, we're going to offer you a 4-book bundle called the Mental Game Super Duper Bundle, which includes the Mental Workbook and Work on Your Game and 30 Days of Discipline and what's the other one? Bulletproof Mindset. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bulletproof Mindset, 30 Days of Discipline, Work on Your Game, and the Mental Workbook. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was talking to somebody once, and I was helping them map out the future of their business. And they were telling me, and we were talking about everything that goes along with where they want to take their business, where they want to live, what they want to do, what kind of clients they want to work with, all this stuff. And adding everything up, I asked them, okay, given all the stuff that you want and the kind of place you want to live in and, you know, your expenses and all that stuff, how much would you need to be making? This person said, all right, Dre, I need to be making about $150,000 a year. I said, fine. Now my question is, well, not my question, but here's what happened. Let me tell you the rest of the story. What was missing is that this person, this is a grown adult, they had not really done any serious thought on where that number had come from and or what it would take in order to achieve it. I mean, they had the number, like, yeah, I want to make that number, and most people are kind of thinking these big, fat, round numbers, but they hadn't, and it's fine, whatever number you want to make. It had been 10 times this, that'd have been fine no matter what they said, it would have been fine. Question is, have you really thought about what it's going to take in order to achieve it? Given what you are selling and what you're doing, how much of it would you have to do to hit that number? And what would have to change in order for you to hit the number? Because if you're already doing it, then you would already have the number, right? So how many clients would you need to serve? Because this person was in a service-based business, meaning they did a whole lot of services in order to make their money, which is fine. They were good at their services. But how many of them would you need in order to make this much? And how much would you have to charge given what you're, compared to what you're charging now? How many products would you need, you know, on sale, and how many of them would you need to sell every day? Where are these sales going to come from? So you can want any amount that you want, folks. There's no bad number. There's no bad answer to the question, how much do you want to make? You just need to sit and think seriously about what it's going to take to actually achieve the number. And then you got to map out how you're going to do it. How are you going to achieve this number? This is the process for making your goals a real thing. Okay. It's the actual thought that you put behind it. Many people have, if you just have an idea of the thing that you want, but you haven't really thought about and processed, or how am I going to do it? Then what you have is a wish. It becomes a goal, first of all, when you put it on the calendar, and secondly, when you put a plan together to build the bridge between where you are today and where you want to be in the future. That's when it becomes real, when you start actually mapping it out. And let's see, okay, can I do this? Okay, so if you're a personal trainer and you're like, all right, for me to make the kind of money I want to make, and given how much I'm charging now, I would have to do 30 training sessions a day of an hour a piece. Well, that's physically impossible, right? You don't have that many hours. So you got a couple things you can do. We either push this goal back and mean it takes longer for you to get there, or you can lower the number and you can have a lower goal when it comes to your income, or we can raise the price of what you're charging and start having you work with other people, or figure out a way where you can serve more than one person at a time, so you're making the same amount of money per client, but you have multiple clients happening at the same time, so you can get more bang for your hour, in other words. But there are ways we can do it, but we got to make some concessions. But the only way we can even get to this point in the conversation is we got to start mapping out what is actually going to take for you to get from where you are to where you want to be. Many people, I would say about 97% of people never go through this process. And it's a very simple process. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a simple process to just say, okay, this is how much I want to make. Here's what I'm selling now. Here's how much I sell it for. I will need to sell this many of this thing at this price to make this much money. Many people have never had that conversation with themselves. But then they say they want to make this much money, aren't making it, and then they're like, well, and then they say they're frustrated because they're not making that kind of money. Well, have you done any of the work? And the work could just be simply thinking, how are you actually going to do it? And then actually putting it down on paper somewhere that you can see it. See, it's not just coming up with a wish, all right? The process of making your goals a real thing is the actual thought that you put behind it and the work that comes following the thought. And if you would like some help with that, and many people, here's the thing that I'll tell you. The people who I know who play the game at the highest level, they all enroll help with this, not because they are incapable of figuring things out on their own or doing something, because the way they even got to the point that they're even thinking about playing at such a high level, because they already were playing at a level that is above most people. But everybody who I know who's playing at a higher level, let's say around this number that this person I was talking to said they wanted, 150,000 or more, they all enroll help. Why? So that they can focus on the thing that they do best, not trying to do everything by themselves. And how many times have I talked about this in the last 2 months of the show? Why you need to enroll help and utilize other people. Use other people so that you can build up doing what you do best. Use them for what they do best, and everybody wins in this situation. It's a symbiotic relationship. I get something, you get something. All right, this is the way it works, folks. We call this relationships. They call it networking. All right, many of you talk about you want to build relationships and know people. You want to be connected. This is what I'm talking about. This is it. This is it. There's no hidden secret here. I'm telling you what it is, but you got to be willing to take the step. And it starts with the way that you think. And that's why today's topic is today's topic. And I told you how to go access my training so I can tell you how we can start mapping these things out. So I'm not just telling you what to do and then leaving you to go figure out where to get this information from. I'm telling you where to get the information. I'm giving it to you, but you got to be willing to take the step. I can only lead you to the water. I can't make you drink. Let's recap today's class, which is money increasing principles. Anybody who wants to increase the money you're bringing in, this is for you. Number one, watch the money. Anything you want to get better at in life, just pay more attention to it. You will get better, or you will figure out that you can't make yourself better, so you go get some help. 2 words that I use a lot on this show are conscious and intentional. You got to be thinking about it, and you have to have the intention of doing something with the thing, and usually you will figure out what to do about it. Why? Because you are paying attention. The human brain is the most powerful tool known to man. Known to man, rather. Personally, I look at the sales numbers in my business 10 times a day, if not more. Why? Because I'm in the sales business. I care about sales. So if the sales are not looking the way I want them to look, then we need to do something, and we need to do something now, not next week. Point number 2, look for and associate with people who have more money than you. This is the value of association. This is explained in episode 1880, put into effect. Anything you want to get better at, get around people who are doing it better than you, because their energies, ideas, habits, and actions will rub off on you by the process of osmosis. You will learn things that you otherwise wouldn't learn, think things that you otherwise would not have thought, simply because you have different associations. This is the law of association in action. You become the average of the people you spend the most time with, and their thoughts become yours. And number 3, get your mind right around the amount of money that you want and your qualifications for having it. Your qualifications is simply your reasons why you believe you're worth that amount of money. And there's no right or wrong answer to this. You just need to have an answer to it. What do you want? Why are you okay with having it? What value are you willing to give in order to receive it? Are you associating with people who are already at that level? Do you believe you're worthy of earning this amount? Are you doing it? Are you telling yourself this on a consistent basis? This is how you set your mind. That's why we call it mindset. I had a person who told me they wanted to earn $150,000 a year, but they hadn't even done the math on how much of their service-based business they would need to do in order to make that kind of money, which means they were not serious about really earning the money, because they hadn't really thought about how am I actually going to do this, because given that the economics of their business at the time, it was physically impossible for them to earn this kind of money with what they were doing without making any changes. And then when I told them what changes to make, they gave me resistance because they didn't have their mind right around money and around what they wanted. In other words, they had a poor/broke person's money mindset. And so many people have this problem, and if you could just fix this, it would be the first step in fixing a whole lot of things for a lot of people. So you got to sit and think seriously about what it will actually take to achieve what you want. Enroll help. This is what all high-level players do. All high-level players enroll help. Every high-level player you know enrolls help. They have coaches, trainers, experts, consultants, people around them who are helping them. They're in programs. Every person I know who plays at a high level does this. Every single one. I don't know any who do not. I'm not lying to you. Go ask the most successful people that you know financially. Do you enroll help? I guarantee you they all have answers. They'll start rattling off things that you didn't even know existed. I guarantee all of them are doing it. If I'm wrong, any of you send me a text message and let me know. So 2 things to do now. Text me. My number 305-384-6894 to get my weekly motivation text. And go to workonyourgame.net. Those of you who are serious about what I just talked about in this masterclass here today, about taking your game to the next level financially through not killing yourself in the process. Excuse me. Go to workonyourgame.net. It's a 45-minute training, free, done completely by me. At the end of that training, I will tell you how to schedule a call with me so we can talk about how I can help you do this through working directly in strategy and not you having to work 10 times harder to make 10 times the money. It is possible. Work on your game. Dre all day.